Bueno, seguimos hablando de inversión y de Deep Tech y para esto tenemos un panel que va a estar casi en su totalidad en formato virtual, menos por el host, que empecemos por su host, que es Gerardo Marchesini, Partner en NFP Ignite Innovation. Te invito a pasar. Y desde la virtualidad nos van a acompañar Eric Sippel, Private Investor at Sippel Farb Family Office, Guy Perelmuter, Founder en Grids Capital, y Vivianne Bernades, que es co-founder y directora en Cibersons. ¿Te puedes sentar acá y corremos esto de... Perfecto.
Voy.
Vamos a recibir con un fuerte aplauso a todos. Y le damos tiempo a Vivianne. Vivianne, ¿estás de Paraguay o no?
Sí, de Paraguay, de Asunción acá.
¿Sabés algo de guaraní? ¿Te puedes ir a Épico en el deporte o no? No sé si sabes algo de guaraní.
Sí, claro que
por ahí tereí. Bueno, listo.
Sí.
Yo también tengo mis raíces de allá, por eso. Bueno, adelante.
Ah, ¿en serio?
Sí,
Qué gusto.
Bueno, muy buenas tardes y pasamos al inglés. Hola Vivianne. Hello to the other LPs, Gui and Eric. Welcome. We have a very tough audience today. We just had lunch, so we have the responsibility of keeping everyone awake. And we would like to explore a little bit your points of view as limited partners of different funds, operating globally, some of you, others operating in the region. So I would like to kickstart with just a question, and I would like each one of you to introduce yourselves before answering. But an opening question like why investing in LATAM, and specifically why investing in Deep Tech, which is the focus of this forum. Maybe Vivianne can start.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to be here from Asunción, Paraguay. I'm Vivianne Bernades. I'm the co-founder and director of Grupo Cibersons. We are a technology and investment multinational company. We've been working in the technology sector for about 35 years. And now, after some logical changes, we open our venture arm. And from there, we support not only entrepreneurs, but also funds. And to your question, Gerardo, why LATAM and why Deep Tech? I would say, well, first, we are here in the center of South America, so it's what we would obviously do. We know the need of the region to have more capital, and we also, as we live here and we have worked in so many countries, because we were lucky enough to have the opportunity to create companies and work in more than 40 countries, and we can compare the ADN, you say ADN of the Latin entrepreneur, and we know all the possibilities they have for the region. That's first. And second, why Deep Tech? It's because we really believe that in the intersection of the technology, science, and innovation is where we can have more impact, even more impact than in regular technologies that do not develop this kind of how would I say, this kind of opportunities for the region.
Thank you very much, Vivianne.
Okay.
Eric?
Excuse me. I run my own family office here in Berkeley, California. It's sort of in the heart of Silicon Valley. And I am currently in LP with probably 15 or so deep tech funds, maybe or deep tech firms, maybe even more. And for me, deep tech is the way you drive outsized and excess returns. When technology is really hard and the business is really hard, that is what allows a runway for a company to get a real head start and to really disrupt. And so the harder it is, the more likely it is that if you're right and if the founders get it right, that they'll truly drive the returns back to me as the investor.
Great. Any particular things you look into deep tech that would be differential to other areas?
Sure. I really like the intersection of hardware and software. So robotics, where you need to get both the hardware right and the mechanics right, as well as the artificial intelligence and the software that goes inside. That's an area that is particularly interesting to me. Another area is the intersection between biology and computer science.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Goy?
So thank you. I'm Guy Perelmuter. I'm CEO and founder of Grids Capital. We are a deep tech firm. We are focused in multiple areas of disruptive technologies. And I believe that at the heart of deep tech lies a supply and demand problem. If you look at the need for new technologies, new ventures, innovation in the real world, the delivery of those technologies is actually going to be made by scientists, PhDs, doctorate students, people with high degrees of specialization. And we do believe that this imbalance between supply and demand generates two huge opportunities. First and foremost, for the incumbent companies that are always in need to bring those technologies in-house. And second, for investors who are ultimately looking for places where to park their money, where they are not only going to see a multiple of their investments if everything goes well, but also they will be affecting or impacting areas that are hugely important for the survivor, really, of all of us. So these, I think, are very compelling reasons to invest in deep technologies.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I would like to go a little bit deeper into what do you look for actually in venture capitalists investing in deep tech? How do you decide an investment as an LP? You probably have many different opportunities coming to your desk. What do you look for? What is your priority in terms of, I don't know, the team, the investment thesis, the type of investments that they will execute? I don't know who would like to start.
I'll start. There's sort of, for me, there are three areas that a deep tech venture capitalist needs to do really well. One is they need to be able to assess technical risk. Either they themselves are deeply technical, or they have partners who assess technical risk for them. And so they need to be able to figure out which technical risks they're taking on and which ones they're not, and to be really sort of coherent about all of that. The second area is management risk, founder risk, team risk. It is typical for deep tech founders to have a very strong academic brain, but can those founders transition and also be commercial? Can they lead a company? Can they understand how to introduce products and the like? And can the venture capitalists themselves supplement the founders where they may be deeply technical but not as commercial by either being the third man in the room and providing that commercial advice, and to also help train those technical founders to be more commercial. The third area itself is the commercial risk, is the product market fit. Is our venture capitalists, the GPs, are they good at assessing whether a solution is solving a pain point, or it's solving something that's just sort of nice, or not solving anything that matters at all? And are they good at both introducing potential customers to the portfolio companies, both before they invest and after they invest? Are they good at assessing what that market looks like? And so when I think about a good venture capitalist, I think of someone who can answer all three of those questions.
Great. Maybe a follow-up question on that one. How important is track record in that in your analysis?
It's somewhat important, but I probably under-index on that compared to most LPs. I view it as sort of an indication of quality and experience, but there's oftentimes explanations for why someone doesn't have an outstanding track record. It is important for me that someone has real deep experience in doing all of those three things that I described with other people's money. But it's as to the level of success, I'd like to see success, but I also am understanding if there are explanations why the success hasn't occurred.
Great. Thank you very much. Vivianne or Guy?
Yes, I would like to add to what he said, and I think it's important that he already said the most important things. I would like to add if that group, that fund, that GP is able to connect the founders with the co-founders more commercial. That's something very, very important, because in most of the cases, as he said, the lack of experience in the commercial area is one of the pain and the reasons why a deep tech company cannot go alive or cannot succeed. I can tell you from my experience, I have a biotechnology father who all his life wanted to make experiments, and he lived in a lab, and he was a great inventor, but he had a lot of trouble finding that commercial partner. So I think that's one of the most important things, and to be able to guide them through that and through project management in order to establish the way to go high.
Thank you, Vivianne.
Yeah, just to add to this question, I think that probably one of the key things you want to look at when you're looking at a potential investment is the founder, or are the founders passionate about a problem or about the solution? Because more often than not, sometimes they are very enamored with a solution that ultimately is not exactly what the market needs or what investors need. So I think one of the key points in the deep tech world where we meet incredibly intelligent people, very highly educated, is that the shift between their doctorate thesis and their views of the world that are still constrained by an academic view, but also their applicability into real world problems is key. This is something that is very important. The second thing that I believe is very important is the type of investors that are also engaged into looking at that company, because in our world, it is very important for you not only to have conviction on what we're doing, but to be sure that the syndicate, the group of investors that are actually looking at the company, is going to be able to provide and to support the entrepreneurs throughout their journey. And finally, as both I think Eric and Vivianne mentioned, there is this very important path between the company starting, early days, very academic, almost like a technical project, and its evolution into a business where you will need business development, project management, sales, marketing, and so on and so forth. So these are different problems for different moments of the company, but as you, as an investor, decide to engage with a company that you will be involved with for 7, 8, 10 years, these are all issues that you have to try to plan in advance to make sure that you get them right.
Great. Thank you very much. Gui, perhaps I can follow on regarding the type of support that the venture capitalists can provide to the deep tech companies, because as we all know, a new space company or a company in a new therapeutics will require very different set of skills, and the support needed will be quite different. And we're currently seeing a little bit of specialization in the ecosystem, in this emerging ecosystem. And if you had to mention a couple of trends that you're looking at in terms of, I don't know, if you had a few millions to invest today, would you focus on any particular vertical? Would you go agnostic? What is your point of view there?
So I'll start and then gladly listen to my colleagues from the panel. So I believe that every vintage has their own specificities. Of course, now you can barely go a day without hearing a pitch about some AI company that is popping up everywhere, which actually for investors, at least for me, is kind of a turn down, because it means that there is just too much hype, too much money. It became all too easy to build an application layer AI company. So I'm much more interested in what is happening under the hood. I think everybody here in our audience have already heard the story that during the gold rush, the only people that actually make money are the people who are selling the picks and the shovels. And I think this approach is important, because when you look at a deep tech where you have a development cycle that is trying to handle very challenging problems, I ultimately believe in infrastructure, in the tools that are under the hood that are only going to be developed by specialized teams. So I think two areas that I particularly believe are getting a lot of traction now and that are quite complex are, of course, life sciences in a very broad sense, diagnostics, therapeutics, drug discovery, digital health. I think this is a very, very large and long-lasting trend. And we saw during the last panel, the biotechnology entrepreneurs discussing this a little bit. And I think this is going to be one of the most important trends that deep tech will have for the foreseeable future. And the other area that I would highlight is infrastructure. There are many companies that are building the infrastructure for laboratories, for automotive, for manufacturing, for logistics, for pharmaceuticals. And I believe that these foundational changes that we're seeing are going to generate other business opportunities down the road that are going to be fascinating to see. So these are kind of two of my favorite trends to watch right now.
Mm-hmm. Exciting.
Okay, if I have to add up, I would say that if the responsibility is to try to generate the highest returns and at the same time solve problems, I would say that we would focus in whatever deep tech technology that works with the biggest demand that it's in the moment right now. It's would work on climate, food, especially from South America, and of course, education and health.
Thank you, Vivianne. And Eric, I think you mentioned them already. Which ones were the most exciting? And I'm getting a sign here that we have only a couple of minutes left. I would like to close with a question regarding public policy. We have here the organizers are actually an agency of the province, And if you had to give some advice on public policy so that the industry can thrive, what would you suggest?
I can give it a quick try, if I may. I think, and I'll be quick, I think there are two aspects that I would highlight, especially in the region, especially in Latin America, where most countries have always faced a very paradoxical situation. There is an incredible amount of talent. The people are incredibly resilient, creative. Universities and research centers are top quality. However, those aspects of the culture are not enough to build a thriving and profitable ecosystem, because especially in the deep tech world, where you need years of research and investment from the government to make sure that you have all the tools, all the basic science in place, and all the legal instruments in place to help professors, students, investors, companies to benefit from those aspects of the entrepreneurial world. I do believe that there is a mismatch between timings. Governments in general, in the region, they're looking at the next electoral cycle. They're thinking about, what should I do so that I remain in power for another 4 years or 5 years or whatever the case may be? And sometimes some of the projects that we have to invest in are not going to be done in 4 years, maybe not even in 10, especially if you're looking at foundational investments. So I think the disconnect between the timing between the projects, and I think the incentives to make sure that you have an ecosystem that is legally fluid, in the sense that you can make the transitions between your universities, research centers, companies, and make sure that investors have incentives, the right incentives to take those risks. I think they would go a long way to help the development of the region, which has, again, a lot of talent and a lot of I think, flexibility to adapt to the challenges that are thrown at them.
So I'm going to jump in to be consistent with what Guy said, but just with a specific area that many places get wrong, which is a lot of technology, a lot of companies and technology spin out of universities, out of academic settings. And oftentimes the universities who own the IP make it very difficult for the companies and the founders to spin out, whether it's because they want to own too much, or they want to have too much rights to where it's going in the future, or a whole bunch of other things. And so my advice, my specific advice, would be to make those technology spin out as easy as possible, because it's already extraordinarily difficult to get funding and to make these companies work. And so to really ease that transition. And I think that's just really a subset of what Guy just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I would add to what they said is to have the incentives and to make easier to be able to have patents in all our areas, in all our latitudes, and also to work in this transfer of knowledge between the academia and the companies, because it's not that developed in most of the countries.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Vivianne. Well, clearly the technology transfer, it's a bottleneck. It has been mentioned before in other panels here as well. Incentives, clear incentives, so the industry can work and work faster are some of the suggestions then for public policy. Thank you very much for all your insights. I hope that all the investors that are looking at this asset class from the fence are actually encouraged by your words. And thank you very much for all the trust and support you are giving all these VCs that are working from LATAM.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.